We're going to kick things off with a live interview right here, right now. My guest at this time, you know him on the indie wrestling scene. You know him from his own internet radio talk show. And he's also got his YouTube series, Sign Guy's Corner, as well. You've heard his name on this show a couple of times as well. Now you get to hear his voice. It gives me good pleasure. I am joined with the one and only Sign Guy. He is joining me right now. What's going on, man?
Not too much. Thanks for having me, Kenny. Always a pleasure.
I guess my only thing is I wish I would have had you on the show a lot sooner, but as they say, better late than never. And how convenient you're here on our last ITMI radio show. Thank you again for being on. Let's go ahead and get right to it. What made you decide to get into the wrestling business?
Well, I was kind of brought into the business. I used to go to shows in Columbus, Indiana for Hoosier Pro Wrestling, and I would interfere on the behalf of Dice Man Ronnie Vegas on a monthly basis. And between Dice Man and the promoter Jerry Wilson, they kind of brought me in, give me an opportunity. For whatever reason, they saw something in me, and I've been in the business ever since they gave me the shot.
Who were some of your favorite wrestlers growing up?
Growing up, Sweet Stan Lane, one of my all-time favorites. And the Gilbert family, right up there close to them. Kevin Sullivan was a favorite, and I recently got to work with him. Terry Funk, a favorite. Hulkamaniac, way back when. Tito Santana was a favorite. Had a lot of favorites growing up.
You know, that's a lot of big names right there. And, I mean, some people grew up on Hogan time. I kind of grew up, you know, pre-Attitude Era. Right around The Undertaker when he first started. And, of course, with Paul Bearer, may he rest in peace. Yeah, I definitely grew up mostly pre-Attitude Era. And I've been hooked on it ever since. So I hear you got some shows that you would like to promote that you have in the works. So why don't you go ahead and talk about those shows?
Absolutely. We have a show coming up here in Washington. Sign Guy presents Aquamas Championship Wrestling in Paulsboro, Washington on the 29th and 30th of March. We are bringing back NWA World Heavyweight Champion Tokyo Monster Kahagas. He'll be on both shows, the 29th and the 30th. On the 24th of this month, I will be back down in Portland, Oregon for Blue Collar Wrestling. I'm there every other week, counting pinfalls and checking for submissions as a referee there. On April 6th, there is a benefit show for Autism Speaks. It's being held at the North Portland Eagles, where Blue Collar Wrestling runs. It's independently promoted. Promotions all over the West Coast are sending representatives to it. I will be involved in that benefit show, and we're hoping to have a sellout crowd for that for a great cause, Autism Speaks.
A lot of shows that Sign Guy will be a part of, so make sure if you're in those areas, you go check them out. And you gave me some pretty good news before we got on the air. Something big happened to you. I'll let you spill the beans. Why don't you let the people know what just happened?
As of yesterday, I am an officially licensed Kentucky wrestling referee, license approved yesterday, W-871. So if you're a promoter looking for a referee in the state of Kentucky and you need my services, I am totally able to take that booking.
Congratulations on that, man. Me being a Kentuckian, I hope to see you somewhere in the bluegrass at some point. I also hear that one of your good friends in the wrestling business, and she's been interviewed on this show before, Lila Lodge, excuse me. She is now gonna be. She's now working for OVW. She's focusing on dark matches right now. But I've been a fan of Lila for since last year before I interview her, and it's good to see that she's doing things out there in Kentucky. So, I mean, how do you feel about this license? Being a referee here in Kentucky. I mean, there's OVW, there's UWF, there's plenty other wrestling shows out here in Kentucky. How do you feel about being licensed referee here in Kentucky?
I'm looking forward to making my way out there. I've been to shows in Kentucky before. I've never been licensed, so I couldn't actively take part, but now that is all cleared up. I'm licensed. I can take part, so I'm looking forward to get out there. I have some plans to get out that way in the not too distant future, so hopefully I will run into you pretty soon, Kenny.
Hey man, I definitely look forward to it. I'm definitely looking forward to it. So, in addition to refereeing, being a promoter, you also have a highly popular radio talk show on the internet, Tom Burke Tormore. Um, talk. What made you decide to, not only you're part of the wrestling business, you a referee and all, but you also got your own radio talk show. What made you decide to uh, host your own show and to talk about the wrestling business?
Well, there were a couple of guys up here in Washington that started Turnbuckle Turmoil, and they were kind of on a grassroots movement, started from scratch. They didn't really have a connection to the business per se. They were fans of it since the 70s, but they weren't really connected to anyone in the business. I volunteered to do an interview, talk about, at that point, while it was pretty much a cup of coffee career that I had, and they brought me on, and they liked me enough that they offered me a spot as co-host, and I've been with Turnbuckle going on 3 years now. It'll be 3 years this summer, and I've kind of become synonymous with that show. We're doing fairly well with it. There's another guy up here in the state of Washington that wrestles and has had a successful wrestling talk show by the name of Brian Alvarez. We're not quite to his level, but I don't mind being second place to my good buddy pal Brian Alvarez.
That is awesome. And why don't you promote the day and the time and the place that people can listen to the show?
We are on blogtalkradio.com. The shows are available live off of Blog Talk Radio. You can also download them for free off of iTunes. You can get the archives for free from Blog Talk and iTunes at any time after the show airs. We air live Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Sunday, the mothership is at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And we also produce a show called The Lounge, hosted by another person of your acquaintance, Stevie Jonak, and that airs Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Shout out to Stevie. I did meet her last month. She attended the UWF Vixen show. Met her for the first time. She's a sweetheart, and it was a pleasure to interview her last year as well. So I definitely will check out both shows, The Lounge and Turnbuckle Tormore, as well. So you've been in the wrestling business for a while now, and you highly respect it. Do you have a favorite wrestling moment that you have been a part of, whether it's refereeing a match or behind the scenes, anything particular, like any favorite wrestling moment that stands out to you?
There's been several. I've been extremely fortunate in my career. I have several moments. To pick one would be hard, and I don't want to slight anybody else I've worked with, but just to throw one out, last year I returned to HPW. I got to team with the Dice Man Ronnie Vegas and TJ Powers, the High Rollers, and we wrestled Doug Gilbert, whose family I respect tremendously, former NWA World Champion Tommy Rich, and Officer Greg Burns, who used to work security at the USWA shows in Louisville, Kentucky. And we main evented a record crowd at HPW. We set an all-time record. There were 400 people in attendance for that six-man tag team match. That was a proud moment in my career.
What do you like the most of being in the wrestling business per se? Would it be like interaction with fans, being on the road, traveling, hanging out with your peers in the locker room? What do you like the most being part of the wrestling business?
I would say getting out there and just being able to control a crowd. Just the psychology of it. You either have the crowd in the palm of your hands or you've failed as a performer. So that pressure, I think that's what it's all about right there. You got to control the crowd. You either bring them up or bring them low, but it's up to you to control where they go.
Now, this next question is from a fan standpoint. Obviously, like a lot of people, we all watch what's going on TV. You know, the WWE, the TNAs, the Ring of Honors. What's your take on all three companies and the directions that they are going?
I think as a whole, all three of them are probably going in the right direction. Of course, being WrestleMania season, WWE's totally focused on peaking at WrestleMania. They want the most eyes on WrestleMania as they can get. I think maybe the nostalgia turn that they're doing here, bringing in like the old school guys and bringing in names that aren't there on a regular basis, I think that helps if you don't do it too often. And they haven't been doing it as often as they used to, so I think that helps. I think maybe combining the rosters, Raw and SmackDown, I think that watered things down a little bit. I'd still prefer it if they kept them separate, but obviously they like to have the star power available for both shows. TNA, I think, on a right track right now. They set record crowds at the pay-per-view for attendance, moving the shows to different locations for the TV tapings, I think is a big step for them, and I think that so far they're successful with it. The shows in England look phenomenal with huge crowds, so I think that's going to help them long term. Ring of Honor, honestly, I don't follow them as diligently as I would like because we don't get the TV show up here in the Pacific Northwest, but I think Ring of Honor, a good product. I know a lot of people that have come out of Ring of Honor personally, and they've always had a great product, so I like their direction as well. I think that they're doing the best with what they have available to them as far as their television outlet.
You know, I definitely agree. You know, WWE, they definitely want to get things going with WrestleMania season here. TNA, you know, it's just a matter of wait and see now that they are going to start doing shows in other areas. They're no longer just going to be on the Impact Zone. And Ring of Honor, I guess if you're a wrestling purist, that's something that people will prefer. Just wrestling, not much soap opera and stuff. I mean, I watched all three of them. I promote all three of them, and I guess whatever happens, happens going forward with all three. But you know, I give kudos to the indies. You know, those that the backbone of professional wrestling, those that set the bar for the people to move up ranks in professional wrestling. Uh, People like yourself, people like Stompin' Steve and Lotta Lodge, working hard, week after week, getting yourselves out there, and that's what I like to see. People that just want to pursue their dreams and go a step further. So I commend all of you all in the indie scene for a job well done, and I hope y'all continue success with that.
Well, people like you yourself also a big help giving people that don't necessarily have a platform to let people know who they are. You give them that platform, let them promote themselves. So kudos to you too, Kenny.
I appreciate that coming from someone that's well respected in the wrestling industry. I truly appreciate that. Um, Social media wise, I want you to go ahead and promote your links, how people can get in touch with you.
All right. Facebook, I am on there. Facebook.com/SignG1. You can message me, send me a friend request. I'm available for accepting bookings on there. I'm on Twitter at SignGuyHPW. You can follow me on that at YouTube, youtube.com/TheSignGuy77. I do have matches. I have my weekly web show, The Sign of the Times, posted on usually Saturday or Sunday, depending on my booking schedule for that particular week. So you can look for me on that. You could also shoot me an email, SignGuysWrestlingShow@hushmail.com. If you're looking to ask me questions or book me, anything like that, you can always shoot me an email over there. And that's about all that I got.
Well, Son Guy, it was great talking to you finally, and thank you for being on the show. Being that this is our ITMI radio finale, we appreciate your support and continued success, especially now you're going to be coming out here in the Bluegrass State in the future.
All right, I look forward to seeing you.
All right, man. You have a good night.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.